You are listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast with Maggie Green, episode number 397.
Welcome to the Cookbook Love Podcast, a podcast that celebrates cookbook readers, buyers, collectors, writers, and clubs. And now your host, cookbook author, culinary dietitian, and cookbook writing coach, Maggie Green.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. How's everybody doing today? All is well here this morning. I'm actually recording this podcast on a Monday, which is a little bit unusual for me. But last week was the week after Easter, and the older I get, the more I like to treat that week like the week after Christmas. In my faith tradition, being Roman Catholic, I actually believe it's a bigger holiday for us and a bigger celebration, what we're actually celebrating. And I've often wondered why society doesn't treat it the same as Christmas. And I think it's because it doesn't quite have the commercial appeal. There's not as much gift giving. But last week I took some time just to enjoy my house, enjoy my time here. Warren was actually out of town for most of the week. And I want to talk a little bit about today some things that I've been thinking about related to some actions and things that I do that have really helped me in this age of AI. I thought a lot about this because in my business, I've often wondered if I ought to teach some AI strategies or tactics. And I know a lot of the coaches that I see teaching online are talking a lot about AI. In Jane Friedman's publishing newsletter, she talks a lot about AI. Of course, in the publishing industry, AI is not very fondly looked upon. Publishers want books that are written by people, lived experiences, things that they know, or it could be stories that they've created out of their own imagination. So I want to talk to you today about some things that I do here in my own life. I don't want this podcast to really sound like a list of things you should do, but I just want to share what I do and how these actions have helped me to continue to stay grounded in the work that I do and to continue to generate content, including this podcast, coaching for my students, writing that I do for books that I'm working on, and just generally the output that I have in my life and the things that I'm able to do for other people. And it's not that part of it's not based on AI. And it's not faster and it's not more. Again, it just makes me feel more grounded and more connected because it actually helps me to think for myself. So I want to share what I do to think and to write and to cook without relying on AI. And some things that I've noticed over time related to these rhythms that I have. I've talked about some of these things before, not quite in this context about having them presented to you here all at one time, but I thought it would be a good time to offer you these tips because I know for me that it is tempting to use AI and outsource a lot of what I'm going to talk about to AI, but I think that we're doing ourselves a huge disservice as humans with our reasoning capacity, our ability to think, our ability to decide, our ability to move forward with things that we want to move forward with if we let AI do all of the work for us. So this matters to me because I know a lot of you maybe are wanting to perhaps write a book or get published. Also because I talk to people on the podcast who have written books, and writing a cookbook is not just about getting our recipes on the page. That is something that AI could totally do for you. But I think that writing books is really about how you think. It's about how you make decisions. And it's about how you stay connected to yourself and to what you're creating over time. So let's start first of all with writing. I think you all maybe know, or if you're new to the podcast, you might not know that every morning I sit down and write in a spiral notebook 3 pages by hand. I use just a Bic pen and a spiral notebook. I order them in packs of 6 from Amazon. And it's a practice from Julia Cameron called Morning Pages. There's not really any structure to it except that I write 3 pages, and generally it takes me no more than 30 minutes. The goal here is not to produce anything that is useful, and I'm not editing or organizing my thoughts necessarily. I'm just writing whatever is on my mind. And I'm going to read to you from Julia Cameron's book, her description of morning pages. I want to give her credit again for this tool. I know a lot of my students also use it, and people that are working on creative projects use it. But she describes morning pages as every morning, she says to set your alarm 30 minutes early and write longhand 3 8.5 by 11-inch pages about anything and everything that comes to mind. I always say I would never stand between anyone and their morning coffee, but try to get to the page as quickly as possible. Don't spend 45 minutes brewing the perfect cup. The faster you get to the page, the better the pages will work for you. Avoid the phone, the computer, and email until you have finished your pages. The pages act as a windshield wiper, clearing away what stands between you and your day. And that whole thought of morning pages being a windshield wiper, clearing away what stands between you and your day, what that means to me is that often what stands between us and the day we want to have is what's on our mind when we wake up in the morning. And morning pages are a way to process that, get that out on paper, do some thinking out loud and some processing, and clear your mind so that you can have the morning that you want to have. Now, I think one of the greatest inventions for mankind, if you drink coffee in the morning, is a coffee pot that you can automatically set up to brew your coffee. Do it at night before you go to bed, and then when you wake up, your coffee's brewed. I literally get out of bed, go to the bathroom, pour my coffee, and head to the spot where I'm going to do my writing. For me right now, it's in a room, the area adjacent to where I work. I have a couch that I sit on. My cats often join me there. My 2 cats I adopted last fall. And I get my writing done often before, I take my shower or anything like that. Then I take a walk or take my shower, get ready for the day. But morning pages always comes first. If I get distracted and start doing other things, it just doesn't happen. I'm very faithful to this practice. I've committed to it. Ask anyone that I travel with, or ask people whose homes I visit when I travel if I'm ever a house guest. I know they've seen me, or they know that I get up and do this, and I generally don't let travel, being in a hotel or being in someone's home, stop me from doing it. It's very fruitful, productive, and I think it really helps me, again, to, like Julia Cameron says, this morning page acts as a windshield wiper, clearing away what stands between you and your day. So when I start my days like this, and I know what's on my mind, I can get it off my mind, it literally changes how that I move through my day. And if I think of something I need to do, or think of something that I want to take action on, I just kind of keep a little list there as I'm writing, and I make decisions quicker. I stay with ideas longer. I don't get caught up in as much second guessing. And I'm no longer trying to work during the day through a bunch of noise. I'm working through clarity. And it's been a very important part of what I do. I highly recommend it. All credit to Julia Cameron. She's been very generous with talking about this tool, sharing this tool, and I think that it's something that she deserves all the credit for. And for any person who's creative that uses her process, amazing to think what we've been able to create in the world without AI because of morning pages. The second thing that's a regular part of my rhythm that's also physical is walking. I walk on most days, and I notice the days when I'm walking, my thinking is different. It's more clear. It's great to be outside, get some fresh air. Um, it's not something I force, and I don't necessarily end up walking every single day, but I try not to let the weather slow me down. The only thing that really might slow me down is if I literally have a work related appointment early in the morning. I'll walk later in the afternoon, sometimes in the evening, although that's not my favorite time to walk. But walking is definitely part of my rhythm. And I think there's a connection between writing and walking because I know that I found a way to stay connected to my thinking. And I also know that when I walk and I'm outside, I see people and opportunities crop up in my life to do things or have conversations because I'm engaging with my neighbors. So take that for what it is. Talking to people and interacting with people helps us to see opportunities and to understand and learn what people are going through in their life. And just so many good things happen when I get outside my house and I walk and I see my neighbors. So that's something that's very grounding for me, and I love getting out and walking. So my preferred thing to do is get up, do my morning pages, and then walk the next thing if I can, and then come home, eat some breakfast, take a shower, and then be ready for my day. Sometimes during the week, I'll work and go into morning mass at my local parish, which I love doing also. I would do that instead of walking, though. I would take my shower and go to morning mass and then come home and be ready to work. So I like doing that as well. But the walking is hugely important for me. And then the third thing is cooking. Big surprise. Even though we're a family of two now, all of our adult children are out of the house. I was always cooking every day for them when they were younger. Either Warren or I prepared a meal every single day, if not one, more than one, especially during the summer when they were home from school. But I think if we're going to be cookbook writers, we have to be cooking. And if we're going to be writing a baking book, we need to be baking. There is no way you can outsource this and write a cookbook. Everything that you want to write about becomes very real when you're in the kitchen cooking and paying attention to what you're doing, noticing what works, what doesn't work, what you would change, how recipes evolve, writing things down as you go, capturing what's happening, giving your perspective and your recipes a point of view in the kitchen. This is how I develop my recipes. And every opportunity that I have to cook for other people, you can try something new. I have a friend who had open heart surgery. A couple weeks after she got home from her surgery, I took dinner to her house and sent her a little list of things that I could cook for her. And she chose lemon orzo chicken. And I made the recipe from my head based on something I had, done years ago. But it was really fun to go through the process of using fresh lemons, oregano, dill, the orzo, browning the chicken. I usually use boneless chicken thighs for something like that. I even sauteed the lemon so that it was browned, cooked it all together, kind of like a chicken and rice, but it was Greek lemon orzo chicken. And it was great to develop the recipe as I was cooking it and to write it down, keep track of what I was doing. And it totally makes me want to make that again or turn it into something that I could maybe use more permanently. But cooking is really so important if you're wanting to work on a cookbook project. I know for a fact that all of the people that I interview for the cookbooks that they've written did develop most of the work on their own. I can think of a few that maybe used people helping them, but these people are in their kitchens cooking and writing things down, and it shows. I can just tell by the types of cookbooks that they're working on. So you can't get around cooking. I think it's a huge part of my routine. I have been using delivery for groceries. If you're wanting to use your time in other ways, grocery delivery, if it's available in your area, It works out great for us because it's actually a delivery service that comes from Kroger. It's not through Instacart or Uber Eats or anything like that. So it's really been high quality produce and quite enjoyable to be able to fill up my cart and order groceries and have them delivered to my house. Okay, so that's the third thing. And then the fourth thing is regularly I take time for myself, do a solo outing, go do something creative by myself, maybe go to a new place around town. Recently, what I did was there's an art center down in the downtown area near where I live that offered a 4-week lino cut printing class, and it was on Tuesday evenings. So I signed up for that. Thoroughly enjoyed the lino cut class, learning how to carve out the pad and then do the printing. And it was very fun to not only design and print something that I drew, but also to see what other people in the class were doing. There was everything from animals. Some people did radishes, citrus slices, trees, anything that you can imagine a woodcut or a lino cut print being made into flowers. The instructor did an owl, and then we learned how to apply watercolors for background or watercolors for features on top of the lino cut. So it was really fun. And that's totally different than writing or cooking, but again, very tactile. And it's quite fascinating. Quite a few younger women in the class. They were taking the class because they enjoy getting off their phones and going out and being with groups of people creating something with their hands. And one of them was new in town. She just moved here from Louisville, was trying to meet new people. So I did enjoy going to the class, focusing on something creative, listening to why people were there, and realizing that this human need that we have to connect with people and to create is just part of who we are. And I don't think that AI will help us do that unless maybe we have it help us plan a trip, but we still then get out and take the trip and connect with people. So I think that when I look at all of this together, the things that I do from morning pages to walking, cooking, and then going out, taking my time out for a solo outing or solo adventures, I just see a rhythm to what I do and a rhythm to what I've done over the years, where I have time to think on my own and I'm time to be intentional and deliberate about what I do, and to feel settled and connected and paying attention and noticing what's going on. All of those things are things that I can uniquely bring to the table, and so can you, in a way that AI will never be able to do. Those are the things that make us human, and I think it's the things that we really need to pay attention to if we're feeling disconnected and relying more on technology than we should. I encourage you to maybe try some of these things to help you move forward and make decisions and be more present to the work that you want to do, paying attention to what's going on around you, and approaching things and discerning things about what truly belongs in your rhythms and routines and habits, and what can actually be left out. Because over time, as we become more aware of how we're working, we can move through the process, we can make changes, we can develop and lean into what works, we can use what we're doing for the work that we are writing about or for the things that we're teaching people. And again, this isn't something that you have to follow. I just wanted to share what I found is working for me in my life and has for many years to help me be a person of intention, truly leaning on the things that I know make me distinctly human. So whether you want to write a cookbook, start a business, join an online course, make an online course, sell an online course, do more artwork, do more writing, do more journaling, remember how you live and the rhythms that you create in your own life are what is going to support you in that work. And it's work that needs to be something that you can stick with, you can stay with, and it truly does become foundational in everything that you do. So that is it for today's episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. This is your host, Maggie Green, and until next time, I hope you have a great day and keep loving your cookbooks.
Thanks for listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast. You can find out more information at www.cookbooklove.co.